What if Yoriichi, the legendary demon slayer, was Tanjiro's father? Imagine the possibilities that would arise from this unexpected twist. How would their relationship change the entire story of Demon Slayer? Well, from altered abilities to a transformed storyline, let's uncover the potential changes that Yoriichi's presence would bring. But before we jump into these scenarios, let's first take a brief look at who Yoriichi is and what makes him so significant. So stay tuned because the final battle will shock you. So who is Yoriichi Tsugikuni? Well, Yoriichi Tsugikuni was a renowned demon slayer who lived around 500 years ago during the Sengoku era, a time known as the Golden Age of Demon Slayers. Born into the Tsugikuni clan, Yoriichi was widely recognized as the strongest demon slayer to have ever existed. Despite his immense power, Yoriichi remained a humble and peaceful individual with a deep sense of honor. Yoriichi also had a twin brother named Michikatsu. But did you know that there's something much more sinister about his twin? Well, in the current timeline, Michikatsu, also known as Kokushibo, holds the position of upper rank 1 among the 12 Kizuki. Yoriichi's first encounter with Muzan and Tamayo also involved him using one of the most powerful breathing techniques forms in Demon Slayer, which gave Muzan PTSD. Although he doesn't physically appear in the series, Yoriichi plays a significant role as a supporting character in Demon Slayer. So, what makes Yoriichi significant in the world of Demon Slayer? Well, after thorough research, we discovered that he is the inventor of all breathing style. He created the very first breathing style known as sun breathing, which eventually evolved into the Hinokami Kagura used by Tanjiro Kamado and the Kamado family. So how does Yoriichi become Tanjiro's father, and what happens to the current timeline if that does happen? Yoriichi as Tanjiro's father. Well, in this alternate scenario, let's explore how Yoriichi would become Tanjiro's father. So first off, Yoriichi wouldn't be born in the Sengoku era, but instead born in the era where Tanjiro's father, was alive. Yoriichi's journey as a misunderstood child would lead him to encounter Kii Kamado instead of Uta, his original wife, who becomes the love of his life. But how would this happen? During their first meeting, Yoriichi discovers Kia standing alone in the mountain, holding a bucket filled with tadpole. Intrigued, he strikes up a conversation and learns that Kia has lost her family to disease and feels lonely. Yoriichi, moved by her loneliness, offers to accompany her, and she agrees. As they spend time together, Yoriichi's silent nature contrasts with Kia's talkative personality. They develop a deep bond, and their connection grows stronger with each passing day. After 10 years of companionship, Yoriichi and Kia decide to marry. So what happens after Yoriichi and Kia marry? Well, they start a family together, and their son Tanjiro is born along with Nezuko and his other siblings. In this altered storyline, Tanjiro becomes Tanjiro Tsugikuni, inheriting the powerful bloodline of the Tsugikuni clan from his father Yoriichi. But things don't always go as planned, because after Yoriichi and Tanjiro were on an errand, Muzan attacked their house, killing Kia and turning Nezuko into a demon. They would then subdue Nezuko and meet Giyu Tomioka, who encouraged Yoriichi to train as a demon slayer along with Tanjiro. With Yoriichi's guidance and the strength of his lineage, Tanjiro's journey as a demon slayer takes on a whole new level of strength and purpose. Now that we know how Yoriichi becomes Tanjiro's father, we might as well ask the question, what changes would occur if Yoriichi became Tanjiro's father? And how would these alterations impact Tanjiro's abilities? The storyline of Demon Slayer and the dynamics within the Kamado family. Well, first things first, there would be no breathing techniques. This is because Yoriichi was the one who invented them, and since he was born in the Sengoku era, he wouldn't have developed sun breathing and taught other demon slayers, which would eventually give birth to the fundamental breathing techniques. So how does the Demon Slayer Corps fight demons? Well, they use standard Nichiren blades, which also means that the Hashiras aren't experts when it comes to breathing techniques, but are just very strong swordswomen and swordsmen. Another thing to note is that when it comes to Tanjiro's skills, he's just like Yoriichi. He was also born with a Demon Slayer mark instead of attaining it like in the original series. Yoriichi would quickly rise to the rank of Hashira, and instead of Urokodaki teaching Tanjiro, Yoriichi would make Tanjiro his Suguko. By this time, Yoriichi would create sun breathing and teach them to other demon slayers. So do all demon slayers get sun breathing? Well, like in the original series, none of them except Tanjiro could fully capture the breathing technique's essence, and this in turn would make the 5 fundamental breathing techniques: water by Giyu, flame by Shinjuro Rengoku, thunder by Tengen Usui, because if you didn't know, sound breathing is derived from thunder breathing, and wind breathing by Sanemi. But what about the upper moons? Well, both Yoriichi and his twin Michikatsu were born in this era, so we don't exactly know who the upper moon one is. But the other upper moons would stay the same since Yoriichi didn't have a massive impact on how they became demons. Michikatsu, like in the original timeline, would end up being jealous of Yoriichi and his success. Michikatsu would develop moon breathing, but once he realizes he'll never be as strong as Yoriichi, he'll betray the demon slayers and become the upper moon one. And do you know what happened when he became the upper moon one? Well, he would kill the head of the Demon Slayer Corps, which is presently Kagaya Ubuyashiki, and present his head to Muzan. This would mean that Kirya Ubuyashiki, Kagaya's son, would become the Demon Slayer Corps' leader earlier than than intended. So now that all the cards have been set, how would Yoriichi's presence in this era affect the original timeline? Well, first things first, we'll have to go to the past, or in this case the present, where Yoriichi will meet Muzan and Tamayo. In this encounter, everything would still play out the same, except that Yoriichi is now with Tanjiro, but Tanjiro does nothing more than observe. Yoriichi used the transparent world and quickly overpowered Muzan using the 13th form of sun breathing. Muzan's body burst into thousands of pieces, and even with Tanjiro's help, both of them weren't able to destroy all of them, leaving Muzan still alive. But what about Tamayo? Well, Tanjiro asked Yoriichi what to do, and they both decided that she isn't a threat and let her go. Tamayo told Yoriichi everything about Muzan, and eventually, after some time, we reach the part where Michikatsu betrays the Demon Slayer core, kills Kagaya, and becomes the Upper Moon One. Because of his brother's betrayal and even his daughter Nezuko becoming a demon, all the other Demon Slayers blamed him and ordered him to commit seppuku as punishment. But Kiriya insisted he'll just be exiled while Tanjiro will remain a member of the core. Although Tanjiro was heartbroken, Yoriichi reassured him that they will continue the fight against the demons, even if he was not part of the organization. This in turn means that among all the arcs in the Demon Slayer series, Yoriichi wouldn't be present but will instead be at the sidelines, helping the Demon Slayers in any way he can while trying to find a cure for Nezuko and turn her back into a human. Eventually, Yoriichi would meet an old man named Sakonji Urokodaki, a former Demon Slayer, where he'll use suggestive hypnosis to make Nezuko think that all humans are her family. As Yoriichi was banished and Tanjiro is now alone in the core, he'll go through the final selection arc. So will Tanjiro pass? Well, seeing as he has now inherited sun breathing and all the other OP abilities that Yoriichi has, he'll definitely pass. But other than this, will there be other changes with Tanjiro? Well, Tanjiro would not be as kind and compassionate in the main series. Instead, he'll have a more stoic and straightforward approach because of all the difficulties he's faced, to the point where even his father was exiled from the core. In the Kidnapper's Bog arc, there won't be a lot of difference other than Tanjiro easily beating the Swamp Demon because of his enhanced abilities. But things take a different turn when we reach the Asakusa arc. So what will the big difference be? Well, Tanjiro will meet Muzan alone, and Muzan will most likely try to hide because he senses Yoriichi's presence within Tanjiro. Tanjiro will also meet with Tamayo and Yushiro, where they'll go to her mansion, where he finds both Yoriichi and Nezuko laying low. In this arc, Suzumaru and Yahaba would be sent over by Muzan to hunt down Tanjiro, but they'll instead encounter someone more horrifying than Muzan, and that's Yoriichi. The two of them will immediately be defeated. Moving on, will there be any changes when it comes to the Suzumi mansion arc? Well, not much. It's just that Tanjiro will defeat Kyogai faster, and he'll also meet Inosuke and Zenitsu. But interesting enough, Zenitsu will still have thunder breathing, but instead of Jigoro teaching him, Tengen Uzui taught him this along with other demon slayers who were interested. He only managed to learn thunder breathing because Jigoro forced him to. Other than that, as well as Nezuko not being present, everything would stay the same. As we continue the story, everything would align with the current timeline except in moments where the 12 Kizuki is present. But why is that? Well, being Yoriichi's son, Yoriichi would keep a close eye on Tanjiro, especially if the fight looks like it'll take a turn for the worst. The Mount Natagumo arc would have the same outcome, even though Nezuko's presence was vital. Tanjiro has somewhat mastered sun breathing, so he'll be enough to hold off Rui until Gyu arrives. In the Mugen Train arc, Yoriichi would arrive in the nick of time before Akaza manages to finish off Rengoku. Akaza would be able to escape once he senses Yoriichi's presence, leaving Rengoku alive but severely wounded. But what about the Entertainment District arc? Well, Nezuko's presence was vital here too. However, Yoriichi would arrive and help Tanjiro and the others fight the Upper Moon's 6 siblings. Gyotaro and Daki would instantly be liberated, and Tengen Uzui wouldn't lose an arm and an eye. Just like in the Entertainment District arc, Yoriichi would also arrive at the Swordsmith village and help in fighting Upper Moon 5 and 4. The Demon Slayers would be victorious, however, there would be one significant change here. In the fight, Yoriichi would be busy with Gyoko. Gyoko's Blood Demon art allows him to teleport to one of his bases, which would prove to be one annoying strategy. Yoriichi would be preoccupied with him because, well, Muichiro wouldn't exist because he was Kokushibo's descendant. Mitsuri would be left in the same dire situation where she was about to be finished off by Zohakuten, while Tanjiro and the others are having trouble finding Hantengu. They won't be able to catch him on time as Zohakuten unleashes his attack while Mitsuri accepts her fate. So, would Mitsuri die? Well, this is where the most shocking turn of events takes place. Nezuko would save her, and by doing so, she'll be exposed to the sun. But will she disintegrate? Well, she'll prove to be the first demon to be immune to the sun, just like in the main series. Now all that's left is the final battle, but before we continue, make sure to subscribe, smash that like button, and click the notification bell for more videos like this one. Now let's get back to it. How would things play out? Well, this is where Yoriichi makes his big reveal to the entire Demon Slayer core once again. In the final battle, Yoriichi along with Tanjiro Tanjiro and the other Hashiras would be sent to the Infinity Castle. He'll fight Akaza along with Tanjiro and Giyu and instantly one-shot him, making sure he won't escape again. The other fights would play out the same, with Doma dying because of Shinobu's sacrifice and Nakebe being defeated by Obanai and Mitsuri. But here are the massive differences. So what are they? Well, Tamayo won't need to poison Muzan, as they assessed that Yoriichi was enough to defeat him. And Yoriichi would face Michikatsu, now known as Kokushibo, as well. He'll replace Muichiro, and just like in the original series, he'll instantly overpower him too. But is Kokushibo that weak? Well, it's just that Yoriichi is too strong. In the original timeline, Yoriichi blitzed Kokushibo even when he was more than 80 years old, and he wasn't able to deliver the killing blow because he died due to his old age. But now that he's in his prime, Kokushibo is a goner. Now all the upper moons are dead and the demon slayers only have a few losses. Yoriichi would meet Muzan, Tanjiro would also join in, and the battle commences. Muzan, already in his combat form, uses his shockwave energy blast to at least gives him some time to escape. But the father and son duo unleash the 13th form of sun breathing at the same time, cutting Muzan into pieces. Muzan tries the same technique once again, splitting his body up into thousands of pieces, but now that there are other Hashiras present, he is ultimately defeated as his escaping fragments are destroyed one by one. Yoriichi and Tanjiro have achieved their revenge. As the battle draws to a close, Nezuko arrives along with Tamayo and Urokodaki, and she's a human again. 3 months after the battle, the Demon Slayer Corps is disbanded. Yoriichi, Tanjiro, and Nezuko live normal lives, and every Demon Slayer retires. There are no more demons left in the world, and humans are safe now. The Demon Slayers won in a battle where they displayed pure dominance because of the presence of one man, Yoriichi Tsugikuni, the strongest Demon Slayer to ever live. So that's the end of What If Yoriichi Was Tanjiro's Dad. Make sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell. But before we end this episode, have you ever thought about what would happen if Yoriichi survived and became a Demon Slayer like Muichiro? Well, check out the next video to find out.